We're going to start today. Baylor, Colt Barber, earlier today, posted this up in the special section, the premium section. There has been a big change made with Baylor's NIL partner, GXG, regarding football. Baylor's philosophy, and this is the first year they really did this. They were behind the curve. Sometimes they will say, no, they weren't. But they just started it, and everybody on scholarship was getting an X amount of money that was very comparable to the upper probably third of the Big 12 per scholarship player, and even some walk-ons. And I haven't really been able to confirm the walk-ons, but I believe there's a number of those too. But there was no money when it comes to, well, certain players have more value than others. It all depends on how you feel about that, but we know it's there. It's been there now for a couple of years. And Baylor, GXG, has now come double down. And that will change effective 24-25, including perhaps even a possible hit or two when it comes to the next class that signs in December, and retaining players on their current roster, no matter what the coaching situation is, and the transfer portal.
Well, that's good. I mean, they need to – not only do they need to step that up, as everybody around the country needs to step it up, but they do need to make it more public for the fans to know about. Like Garrett and I on the post-game show, I would say easily 4 weeks in a row.
Easily, yes.
Easily 4 weeks in a row, we'll get a question about what's Baylor's NIL situation. And I hate being in the position of being like, look, dude, I really don't know anything about it other than I know that there is one and I've heard things about it, but I can't confirm anything about it. Everything's in the shadows, and it doesn't need to be. It's not like it's illegal. It's not like this is Eric Dickerson's Trans Am or something like that. Like, this is all there. You may not need to give actual dollar figures, but the fans need to know that you're out there and doing things. And the ones that I've seen around the country that are most successful are the ones that announce that, hey, our NIL Collective has partnered with this awesome player. Here he is. That way the fans can feel at least as much peace of mind as they can, even though nothing is permanent in college football, of knowing that, yes, there's someone out there doing something to keep competitive with the rest of the teams in this whole big mishmash of college football.
Craig Colt also in the premium section, and I did ask him about it because you put something in the premium section, you want it to be there, and it's been marinating for the last several hours. Each player will receive a different fair market value on top of their base salary or pay, whatever you want to call it, in 24-25, which is where the difference in distributions have come from or will come from. So, yes, the base pay remains the same, but the fair market value will always now be above the top of the base, creating a variance certain players. Caden Jenkins has put up a couple of tweets in the last 2 or 3 days about respect my decision. I would think this also is probably in time to make sure that Caden Jenkins now can make the decision of staying at Baylor. No one's told me that, but it appears that has a little bit to do with it. Not just Caden Jenkins, but also those who are thinking about moving elsewhere.
Yeah, with all due respect to Caden Jenkins, I mean, he's not like a Thorpe finalist right now either. He's a young player who's had 3 interceptions on the year, and that's a bright spot in a sea of not too many bright spots. Really good future ahead of him. I can see why there would be teams maybe interested NIL-wise, but I don't want to make it out to be too much of what it's not. But, yeah, they would like to have him back, and I think that this obviously plays into that or others like him that could be looking around or would have the opportunity to look around. So, yeah, if I was forming a list of guys who I would think have already been contacted or that we've mentioned quite a bit, he would be in that mix. But, yeah, he's not a superstar just yet. And so, we'll see how that plays out. But I guess it's good news. It's obviously not bad news that they've got something going on now with NIL. I don't know why it's been so confusing to begin with. I feel like we've had a bunch of conversations about the NIL part at Baylor, had people come in here and interview, and it seems like every time it's like, oh, well, now it's together, and then now it's together, and now it's together. So hopefully this is actually what they've been needing. I haven't been following closely enough to know what effect that's had or not had on the bigger picture, but the better your NIL operation can be, the better it should be for your program. So if they're improving that by, getting more money into the mix or offering to Caden Jenkins more money than the backup right guard, then I think that's the obvious smart play and should have kind of been what it was to begin with, but I'm sure we'll learn why that couldn't be the case, because maybe it was donations or it was some other factor that we don't know. Bottom line is, hopefully this is like, now we're here and now it's ready to go and now we're ready to play ball. And I know that they'll say, well, we already were anyways, but this seems like it's a different thing. So if that's the case, then good for them.
Jeremy Fudge is going to join us on Monday at 3:30. He's a part of a lot to do with what they're doing when it comes to NIL, and he has put up various posts in the forum section trying to explain to everybody that they had started it. Yeah, it wasn't in 21 or 22 or 22, 23, but he has tried to explain that numerous times, and I think still most people just didn't quite get it. Even when this news came out from Colt today, then you have a lot of the questions. Well, what about, I would think if you're a Baylor fan, you can ask the questions all you want. That's great. It's the team you love. Just enjoy the fact it's now there with what Colt is reporting. Jeremy will come on the show Monday to answer a lot of our questions we have for him. Like, for example, Dave Aranda. I would believe that Dave Aranda is one that was very much wanting everybody to have the same amount of money and that nobody was higher or than anybody else. I'm not saying that he doesn't understand the value or in that what was used earlier, fair market value, but I got a feeling Dave Aranda wanted everybody, no matter who you were, to have the same amount of money because of that team aspect. That may not be working. We don't know. Also, does this mean that this is also now they're going to give Dave even more of an opportunity to get this right with possible staff changes? Or is this also they've not sure what they're going to do with his future, but no matter what, whoever is the head coach, Aranda or otherwise, will now have this, whatever it is, NIL to deal with.
Well, look, if you're going to have a team full of 85 players that all think they're worth the same amount, then you're going to have a problem. I mean, anyway, like you want to set a baseline there.
Well, they're not dumb. Like you said, the backup guard, Craig, knows his value compared to Monterey Baldwin or whoever.
Yeah, but, look, there are, do you think that just as Alabama last year where everybody knew Bryce Young or Caleb Williams right now, there are really good big money players at USC, but do any of them, are they like sitting around their dorm room thinking like, man, I'm worth as much as Caleb? Like, no, like the smart ones aren't, and the ones that think that are dumb and they're going to have a problem wherever they go. So yeah, I think that some of that, like I get wanting everybody to have the same baseline and that makes it fair because you all start out the same. This is not the pros. There's not like recruiting is not the draft, right? So, the fifth round draft pick and the first round draft pick have different values on where they're drafted, but there does need to be some like, well, you got offers from this school and financial offers from here to be competitive in the marketplace. If you want the guys who are like Torian York that you lost to A&M, you're going to have to pay him what A&M's paying him. Bottom line.
Yeah, I think that's a nice idea that you'd pay everybody the same, but I can see in a half a second why that would be problematic. Mm-hmm. And I think when you watch them play, it almost makes me think, well, shoot, no wonder everybody's just kind of flatlined. They play the same. Like everybody's just kind of the same. So that just fits, I guess, across the board. But that seems like an idea doomed to fail, especially when you're going to have people in the ears of Caden Jenkins or any Richard Reese. You're not playing like, hey, here's $10,000 a semester or whatever. That's an easy picking right there. Oh, they're paying you. You're getting paid the same as the center, and you've got 8 touchdowns on the year. Tell you what, we don't have those rules. We'll give you $25,000. So yeah, that seems like something that is a nice idea, but it's not really realistic in the grand scheme of college football. And so that's that's something obviously to correct. Like we know Texas Tech, how they pay their offensive linemen. There's a big announcement about that. Texas, when they started offering offensive linemen money, or Texas Tech was actually like the team-wide thing, even walk-on. So we've heard those types of stories. We've heard nary a peep out of Baylor. I mean, they're a private institution, so they don't really talk money anyways, but I'm curious to see how open they will be with this. So I guess we'll learn those questions.
The school can't be, but the collective can be.
Right, but
much
I'm talking
more,
in general about the programs
yeah.
that they are announcing and letting it be known that they're having this money available to spend on players. Like that's not something that they were shying away from when the headlines were out there. So yeah, it's not announced by the school, but it's basically promoted by the school.
Mac has told us how many times that they were about to make that change. I think still everyone thought it was going to be 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hold on, let Craig finish. But it does. I'm telling you right now, it's on the verge of being in overdrive.
Okay, well that's great. I guess we'll see when it happens then. But I mean, good that they're working on it, and good that they're trying to get their ducks in a row here, and hopefully it helps whoever it needs to help here.
One of the things I've done just since all this came about is when you hear about collectives, I'll go follow them on social media because I want to see how they talk about things. And, you know, when you, like, if you follow some of USC's collectives or FSU or Georgia or whoever, whenever, like, if Brock Bowers signs a deal with them and they get a deal for Brock Bowers, they tell you about it. That I've not seen any of that from
Baylor. Promote it.
Yeah, they promote it, which is the point of name, image, and likeness.
Yes.
And so that's where Baylor, to me, has been, because none of their fans know. That's the thing. Like, none of this needs to be a secret. This is not the old days. And you need to make sure it's not a secret, because you're going to have old guard fans that will think like, this doesn't seem right to me. And well, it's not wrong. Like, there's things that they can change about it, and to make it better for everyone involved, but it's not against the rules anymore. So if all the people you're recruiting against, or every time that, you know, an NIL collective is going to sign somebody to a deal, are going to say, like, you know, Torian York, congratulations, here's his deal with College Station Motors. Like, you've got to do that
They
stuff.
do some of that. There's some of that, but this is so few and far between.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's, you know, treated like it's not a big deal. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what they do here. That's great. They're working on it. It sounds all well and good. And so, yeah, like I said, hopefully it's something that helps the program. I mean, I don't think that's their only issue, but it's a start. And, how involved is the Dave Aranda side of things, and what's the long-term plan? And I guess we're going to get those answers in the next few days. So that's good for them.
Again, Jeremy Fudge on Monday. Not sure about, with next week being a holiday week, about Mac Rhodes on Tuesday. He can't say too much about it, but Colt did a great job today popping that story. And here's one of the other parts that he said in this. This change, I was told, is for the long-term improvement of the football program, was made for the immediate health of the program. The move is not made with any specific player in mind. Understanding the market value for individuals will always fluctuate. The change will elevate total payouts for all scholarship players and allow for a much higher ceiling for those players who have valuations on their NIL. I do know this, that Caden Jenkins has been, no question, people have contacted him, as his name is one of them. He's not, like Craig said, a Thorpe Award winner, but that might have also been a part of, like, okay, wait a minute, we're already struggling here. The last thing we need to do is lose. And that doesn't mean they won't lose anybody anyway, depending on what they do with the coaching change and or what this means to stabilize and also increase the talent on the roster. Now, Jeff